everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Culture to Christ podcast. Thank you again for joining us. We are your hosts, Alex and Aaron. Today, we're going to touch on the last episode, talking a bit about addiction, what lust is, how that kind of leads you down a dark path, and then we're going to get into the culture today, the one leading the culture in the times, Kanye West. So stay tuned. It's going to be a big one. Aaron, how you doing today?
Stage 3, finally.
Stage 3 is
we
open.
We can eat inside restaurants now. Rinks are open.
See, I still think Stage 3 is about, when I looked at Stage 3 opening on Friday, and I'm like, when does the hockey season start? Saturday. I was like, that's that's a big coincidence that Stage 3 happens to be right around the time where the restaurants start opening, right? Because now I guess people can go watch games. Now, I'm not trying to be a conspiracy theorist. I'm just like,
How convenient, you're saying.
Convenient, right?
Yeah.
Right? We live in a time where, places are businesses, right? Everything's really, the government, cares about people, but how much compared to money?
And hockey is
big money grabber.
But both hub cities are in Canada as well.
Edmonton and Toronto, correct?
Yeah.
And now are they keeping all the players in like one safe space, correct? They all have their designated restaurants?
Yeah, so basically in Toronto there's 2 different hotels that they stay at, all the teams, and you get food in the same area as other teams. You just have different time slots of when you can go get food, and you travel with your team on the bus together. You can go to BMO Field to play soccer. So all the environments are all controlled areas, but there's people that are going in and out of those areas. I guess they get tested, so that's how they're keeping it safe. But we'll see, right? Because
I'm curious to see what's going to happen.
Yeah, how long it can go, right?
If I want to see what they mandate, because in baseball, the Miami team their games were canceled for now, because they're in Florida, the hotspot for coronavirus, etc. But I'm curious to see if, say, one player gets it, do they have to stop their games for that team? Do everyone get tested?
Yeah.
Or if they're just gonna go through it? Because these hockey players, they want to get paid, right? Too, they can't really. It's a very fine line of health and safety. But then it's some guys are under contract, or they're.
Well, everyone this season is getting paid no matter what for hockey. So even if let's say you get COVID and you can't play, you're still getting paid.
Well, that's good.
So
that's good.
Yeah, but for MLB, it's crazy how they don't care. They're just traveling everywhere. They're not in a bubble. They're just risking it. So basically, like Miami, what you just said, all those players now, 14 of them got it. Now they're done.
Now, and they're done for this until, I guess, 2 weeks or whatever the protocol is for them to.
But then everyone's a schedule for the other teams that are supposed to play them, right? Now what do they do?
Back.
Right?
So now they're gonna get. Now the teams that played them now are all gonna get tested too to make sure they didn't
snowball.
The snowball effect.
That's why I like what NHL is doing. Like the NHL and NBA, they're doing it in one area, or NBA is one area, but hockey there's 2 hub cities. But it looks like it's more controlled.
Now, in the grand scheme of things, in your opinion, are you glad that sports are back, or do you think that sports should be put aside and we should just keep it in the lockdown?
I like it now because there's something to watch. And, at the end of the day, these guys, they're professionals. So the quality, even though it might not be at the level that they're used to playing because, they had a long break, but because there's no fans there, some players are going to perform better because there's going to be less pressure on them. And at the end of the day, they're trying to win the Stanley Cup. So, it's going to be fun to watch for us.
And do you think a lot of them are more wanting to play rather than stay inside and be safe for COVID? Do you think some are just following whatever everyone else is saying?
I think they said the majority of them, 90% of them hockey-wise, wanted to play. And there was a couple of them that didn't want to play, and they're not playing because they don't feel comfortable, right?
And they're still getting paid. That's
everyone's getting paid.
Because I think it's good in terms of people's mental health. A lot of people, in Canada, even the United States, basketball is obviously now really big in Toronto. The Raptors winning, that people are going to have something else now to watch that's going to help them relieve some stress. They can communicate with friends, go, bars and stuff, or I don't know, bars, restaurants are opening a bit up. So it kind of relieves some stress for some people whose outlet was, sports and talking about sports. Our men's league is back coming up next week. So I think that is good. It's I try to gauge it. We'll see what they say in terms of over the time of the seasons. They're all in hub places, and they're doing it in the most controlled place. Let's see how the virus is actually impacted in those areas.
Exactly.
That'd be good to see. Oh wow, they're locked down, and yet there's still the virus. Obviously it's a virus so small it doesn't have bounds. It's
Yeah.
like it doesn't like, so I'm curious to see that. Now in terms of, us changing the conversation, COVID-19 is a conversation you can have for a long time in sports and stuff like that. Because I got into relationships, but I never worked on what being a boyfriend and leading into my ideas of relationships now are different. Because I was living the fuckboy life, like not really anti-relationships, sleeping around, whatever. Like it wasn't every day. Like to be honest, it was maybe once a month, like a one night stand. Sometimes it was with a girl that was here and there once in a while, but it wasn't every single day, right? And because I was living that kind of mindset, that lifestyle, anti-relationships, this is what it is with women, I'm making sure they consent. Like I wasn't doing disrespectful things. It was always with consent, right? It was never this creepy way. When I got in relationships, because I was living that way and then just got into a relationship, I didn't know how to change. Like people just expect, oh yeah, don't worry, man. Like I know I'm like this now, but when I get a girl, I'll be different right away. I'm like, bro, when is that ever real in anything you do? When can you just switch like that? You cannot. It's a process. You have to start thinking about things and valuing things differently if you're trying to be different. You can't just be like, yeah, man, I do this, but when I get a girl, I'll be good. And that's where the problem I talk about lust, because you're living from a lustful lens. You see women as a lustful thing. Oh, I want to sleep with her. That's a fat ass. Damn, look at her. Like, that's what I did, right? And I can only talk to some friends about it who are also lustful, who like bro to you and like, yeah, man, that's sick. Where some guys you could tell like, oh, I can't be that way because maybe they actually respect women. They don't, every time they look at them, they don't just have this lustful feeling, right? So I always tell people, make sure if you're living that lustful life, you get in a relationship with someone that, you think, oh, I can change and switch. It's not going to happen that way. You're going to deal with a lot of shit. And that's what happened to me. I had to realize, dang, like I still had this lustful problem. Like when I was in my relationships, I'd see other women. I'm like, damn, I don't want that to come. Like that's disrespectful. I felt like I was cheating. Like I don't want that to happen, right? So you guys listening, if you're single right now, like you have this opportunity to like work on that lustful thing, right? All the actions you're doing, the pornography, the multiple women in the videos, all these things are integrating into your mind, into your thoughts. They're going to become what you think about and the things you want to talk about. And if you're trying to get out of it, what's going to happen is you're going to be like, damn, I got to change my friends now. Because like you said, it's a lose-lose situation. Now you're going to be like, oh, I can't really, if I'm changing, we get ripped on, get chirped about, right? Like I can't, it's not going to be, my environment's not going to be enjoyable. It's so you're now, am I going to then lose all my friends? And like, you know what? You might have to change your friend group and be on your own for a bit, be independent and work on yourself, right? And that's also another step where it's hard to do, but just as long as you guys think about it. And then leading into that, today's topic of Kanye West, and he talks about his addiction with pornography and lust. Aaron, you showed me videos for me to watch because, to be honest, I'm not a fan of Kanye West. Didn't grow up kind of looking at him in fashion and culture. Didn't have that interest. But I found his interviews very insightful. He was very himself, not afraid to be himself. He's not afraid to offend people. Like he's open to be who he is, confident. People can see he's arrogant. Obviously, he deals with pride and ego, being where he is. Look at what he's accomplished. It's hard not to have that, right, to struggle with that. As Christian men, we're always going to struggle with those things. They never just go away. It's not a clean slate. Like, I still struggle with lust. It's very minimal, though. It's less than it ever used to be. It's very, very minimal. So let's get into about kind of Kanye West through your lens and, like, how he inspired you growing up. Because you talked to me a lot about, like, him and our conversations.
Yeah, so... back, I think it was during high school time. First album, like I really started messing with him was like College Dropout, and then I always looked at him as like a fashion icon before like any like. Yes, he made good music, but like for fashion, for streetwear, for that type of culture, he was like the guy who everyone looked up to. Whatever he wore, whatever he released, like whether it was shoes, clothing. Everyone like looked up to Kanye and Pharrell in my culture.
Now,
so like,
did he start with music and then get into fashion?
Yeah.
Or was he always like already a fashion guy?
No. So he was a producer first, and then he became a rapper, and then from there he was just like always setting trends.
And how did you get influenced by him? Like, how are you staying connected with him? In the beginning, like was it Facebook, just on TV and stuff like that?
Yeah, it was a combination. So do you remember Much Music?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so Channel 29, all of his videos would be on Much Music, like after school. So it was around that time of like, you know, like when T-Pain was featured on like a lot of albums, like T-Pain was always with
T-Pain's my
Kanye.
guy.
Yeah.
Money in the bank.
Yeah, so during that time was when and that I was working at Champs at that time, so Kanye, he was always wearing like whatever, a lot of the Jordans that we released at Champs, I'd see it on Kanye, like Aqua 8, you know, different like threes and stuff like that. So I would look at him and be like, yo, like that guy, he can dress. So like I'm gonna like a lot of people, especially who I hung out with or who are into the same stuff that I am, we all look to Kanye for inspiration, for like clothing, for fashion, for all that. And then it came to a point where I'd say musically, I don't know, like I don't know if you want to say fall off, but he became different. His clothing, everything became different as well. Like just so, but one thing about it, like he changes his style a lot, and some people like they might look at it like, yo, like that's why. Like when he used to wear a leather skirt. Do you remember that? Did you ever see him used to wear a leather skirt? So during Watch the Throne, he went on tour with Jay-Z. They released the album together, and then he came on stage in like a leather kilt. But then some guys started rocking that. And then, like, for me, I was just like, yo, like, I can't wear a leather skirt like that. You know, like, that's crazy. But then some guys were actually, that's how influential he was.
And was he switching his outfits like every month, or like his style? Was it like a new thing a year? Like he was trying to start a trend before it happened? Was that what he's trying to do all the time?
Yeah.
Because like I'll be honest, like I wasn't in that music culture. Like I liked music myself and hearing kind of top 40, but like I wouldn't look at what he's wearing on tour. Like clothing for me I don't really have a super inclination to fashion and culture. So I'm always trying to understand and learn, like even watching the videos of him talking about fashion and him wearing kilts, like leather kilt. Is that what he said?
Yeah.
Leather skirt or kilt?
Leather, like it's like a kilt is like a skirt.
For the man, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
It's like a Scottish thing, right?
right.
But he was wearing a leather one with leather pants underneath, like
And
performing in that.
Do you think he would do that because he actually liked it, or he was always trying to make a statement?
Both.
He liked
likes,
attention.
yeah, he does it like both. But the thing is, like he's one of those guys that can pull off these type of looks. Like other guys, they be like, yo, what the fuck are you wearing? Because it's Kanye, people are like, yo, that might be the new trend.
And that's because his music is dope. Like that gave him the verification to do whatever he wants because like his music was dope.
Yeah, his music, he was always known as, you know, top 5 in the game or like top 10. Everyone always like everyone looks at Kanye, you know, like I'd say him, Jay-Z, Lil Wayne, Drake, like those are the guys that they're solidified, you know? So his fashion just added to what people like him for. Because yeah, you listen to his music and now you can see like, yo, his style is crazy. I'm gonna mess. Even if I don't listen to his music, I can respect him from a fashion standpoint. So that's why his brand is so powerful. Because like just walk around a mall and you know there's 50-year-old moms wearing Yeezys who know nothing about Kanye, but you know someone bought him a pair. It just shows you like he transcends culture and like so many different facets.
So how did that name come? Like the Yeezy name.
Yeah, how did that come?
Yeezy.
Because I think Lil Wayne started calling himself Weezy, and then Kanye started calling himself Yeezy, and then everyone just started like you know becoming a Yeezy or a Weezy.
Did it have to do with the thing when he called himself Yeezus? Is that a stem
I think
from that?
Yeezus. I think Yeezus came after. That was his album. That was he was calling himself Yeezy before that because his first Nike shoe he ever released was Air Yeezy.
Okay.
So that was like around Lil Wayne used to call himself Weezy F Baby. You know that, right?
Yeah. I like I mess with Lil Wayne, like Young Money.
Oh,
like
crazy.
I listen to Young Money, Drake, Tyga, Nicki Minaj growing up. Me and my friends vibed with Drake a lot. Like because my cousin was on the show with him in Degrassi, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's who Drake is. Okay, like. And me and my buddies always liked hip hop, rap, R&B. Like that's when we made the band. Like we just liked different types of music. So I knew Young Money more than I didn't know much about Kanye. Like obviously I heard some of his songs. Like Gold Digger came out when I was in grade 9.
Jesus Walks.
Jesus.
Right?
Yeah. So that was a good. And that was even before he's Christian too, right? Because he mixed that kind of song was kind of like a lukewarm Christian kind of thing, right?
Yeah. He said he was always Christian, but he just said that he like what you said lukewarm, like he was taken away from from Christianity.
It wasn't his identity.
Exactly.
It was like a part of his life. It's
yes.
like I'm a hockey player, but I didn't actually get
practice and like he's not committed to it.
And how did he inspire you as you continued in like your fashion? Like was he always constantly inspiring you to do different things in fashion in your culture and the things you wore?
It was mostly about the brands he introduced to people. So like Kanye, he'd wear like a brand that's from Paris that people over here in Toronto like we didn't know about, or even in New York. So he was always making certain brands hot because you'd see him wear it on the blogs. You know, this is before Instagram, so there you'd have to go on like websites to see the forums to see what he's wearing, and then from there like he inspired me because so I told you when I was working at Champs. I would see those Jordans, but I wouldn't necessarily know how do you wear these properly. So like like me and my friends, we'd look at Kanye, guys like Pharrell, Nigo, these type of guys to like show us how do we put these things together, right? So like that's how I looked up to him, and just like the music was just like a bonus, right?
And do you think you put him on a pedestal?
Yeah,
like he was
for sure.
Let's say quote unquote your god at the time. Like he was your guy for like he's my guy.
Dude, there was time.
He's your guy, like whatever he wears, like I'm in.
Yeah,
like investing into that culture
for sure. Him, Pharrell, like Nigo, all these guys, whatever like I saw them have or wear, like I'd want it because like that's
right away,
how cool,
no question.
No, it was just like
if he wears a dress, you're wearing a dress.
No, okay, not like that. Because like I told you, the kilt
so
that came out, I was like, I couldn't do that. But I wore leather pants. Like I had leather sweatpants and stuff. That's all Kanye, right? Like so much of the whole leather. Did you remember back in the day when guys were wearing leather sweatpants?
Is that Michael Jackson thing? Is that
Michael Jackson probably wore them, but like Kanye made that hot. Like he put that look on, right? Of like leather pants, and like for guys like wearing leather pants would be like that's kind of suspect, right?
It's kind of
weird,
sussy.
But for him, it's just like he makes it work. And like he basically validates that it's okay to wear that because Kanye wears it.
So this is the breaking point for me.
Skinny jeans, right?
I wore skinny jeans.
You wore them too.
I wore skinny jeans. Yeah, Levi's. I wore a lot of Levi jeans.
So he took a lot of heat for that because all the rappers, what everyone was wearing baggy. Once he wore skinny jeans, everyone's like roasting him, being like, like this guy's gay.
See, in high school, I wore skinny jeans because they felt better. Like I had bigger hockey legs, but I just liked the fact that they're always fitted. Like they didn't have to go anywhere, didn't have to move around. I never understood the baggy thing. Never made sense to me. Like, why am I seeing your underwear? I don't understand that baggy, like that having baggy pants. And I got chirped tons wearing skinny jeans. Like I was like, because I had big legs too. So it was like you're just showing. Like I'm like I don't know.
And back then you didn't know about Kanye, so
nothing.
You didn't have the Kanye card to be like, yo, go look at Kanye when you were.
Yeah, I was just like, I'm just getting ripped. Like I'm just like I don't know. I like skinny jeans. They feel good. They're tight. I like to being secure and like not having, nowadays I wear looser pants, but at the time I wore plaid and like skinny jeans and then maybe like a fitted, like a New Era cap, right?
With the LRG hoodie.
With the LRG, baby. I'm so cultured, bro. The one thing I could never understand was the holes in the clothing. That's when I was like, okay.
Like the ripped jeans you're talking about?
Ripped jeans, I understand a bit of it being cool, but I never understood. I don't even think I have ripped jeans. No, I never understood holes in clothing, like open spaces in clothing. Like, I understand it kind of being you want to stand out a bit, you want to kind of show off. But I know he made clothing like shirts and sweaters with holes in it and stuff.
Yeah.
And I was always like, why are you buying this? Why don't you just go to Value Village and then just put holes in your shirt?
I know.
What is the difference? So that's another thing where how powerful culture is, how powerful these musicians are. Because being a creator, an innovator, a lot of people don't have the courage to do it, to step outside their comfort zone, and to also be successful at it and do well, right? And he was obviously doing crazy numbers in terms of music. Obviously, in the interviews that we watched, he didn't make a lot of money from it, but he was constantly that influential person because in today's time, a lot of us just fit in that system, right? So the second we see someone outside the system doing their own thing, making music, like music speaks to all of us, right? It hits all those different points in us. Like, how did he create this? Like, this is how I was feeling, and somehow that connects to me. So it shows how people can become very, inspired by it. Like, that's why you like the music, but it was more about the fashion. Some people, it's all about the music, but then okay, I'll ride him because his fashion's cool or it's different. I want to be part of that kind of outside look, right? That's only if you know Kanye, then right? You're kind of the hype beast. That's what it is, right? Yeah. It's like hype beast culture.
For sure.
So did you ever wear the holes in the shirts and stuff when he was?
So
what did he call that line? What was it like?
So that wasn't like the stuff with the whole like if you're talking about like ripped jeans and like there's some like ripped shirts and
See,
stuff.
I'm cool with like the ripped jeans and the knees and stuff like
Yeah.
that. The second it's like I see your ass coming out of
Yeah.
the jeans. Like, what are you doing?
So that was like around I'd say 4 years ago maybe. So there's a brand that came out. It's called Fear of God,
Okay.
and that was started by Kanye's boy, who he's like a devout Christian,
Mm-hmm.
and when he started that like he has ripped shirts like rock shirts, ripped jeans
is
and
it
everything.
to symbolize something? Is it to symbolize?
It's just
suffering?
the whole Kurt Cobain grunge look.
Okay.
Right. So I was wearing like I have some jeans that like you can see the underwear. Like if you're sitting down, like there's that many rips up at the top where like you can see through, right? But see, so like Kanye basically he has so many guys who were in his camp that not that he put in position, but they became so much bigger because they were under him and they learned from him that they became tastemakers in like the hype beast culture, and now like they're doing like things like Louis Vuitton, having their own brands, this and that, but it's all from Kanye's influence. So that's when you talk about like him setting trends and him like being so powerful, especially in fashion and streetwear, that he literally once he wears something, your brand can blow up, will blow up.
Will.
Like, there's very few people that have that type of power to this day. Like Kanye can still put something on, and when you see him step out in it, you're like, fuck, that's where we're heading. That's where we're gonna get.
Yeah, because you're the one who told me that he saved Adidas.
Yeah,
Like his brand was bigger than Adidas in terms of fashion and hype beast culture. Is it all connected, or is it kind of two different sectors, like old school and hype beast is kind of new school, and now they're the new schools?
It's merged now.
It's kind of merging to keep the money, the foundation kind of the ones, Louis Vuitton. Give me other names. Gucci,
Prada, Dior.
The new hype beast is keeping those now relevant. They're kind of blending the two.
But to see the first two rappers to get collabs with like high fashion brands, so Louis Vuitton, were Kanye and Pharrell. Kanye back in 2009 was doing collabs with Louis Vuitton, right? 11 years ago. Pharrell back like 2005, 2006, he was doing collabs with Louis Vuitton for sunglasses. So that these two guys, they were always way ahead of the game. Now it's like you fast forward 11 years later, and Louis Vuitton is they hired Kanye's boy as their like head designer for men.
Okay.
So like Kanye's reach is just so vast, where it's like until you step back and actually look at like how much of an influence he's had for like over a decade, you don't really know like how powerful he really is, right?
And what is that? How can you explain to people that mindset that people maybe like myself say, I can understand him in a deep perspective because he's Christian. So now I understand the fight he's in.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he's speaking and people want to call him crazy, I don't think he's crazy, to be honest. Like, I must be crazy. Being a Christian, people thinking, oh, you believe a guy died and came back to life. Of course, you might think that's crazy, but that's what I believe, and I know it happened.
That's faith.
And that's faith. It's not being crazy. It's having crazy faith, too, having a faith to a point where you're going to die for it. But say on the outside perspective, like, what is his mindset that people might not understand about him? I watched his interviews, and obviously he thinks very highly of himself. He's been through the grind. He's even the music industry. Do you find that because artists like him, so successful, quote unquote, but yet was in debt, right? Being taken advantage of, the music industry taking advantage of talented creators because they're creators, but they don't really have the business, right? Can you touch a bit of a point on why he might be so intense now because of everything he went through? Like, his success wasn't even his to have.
Well, I think from the start, he's always had the mentality that everyone is trying to put him in a box. So he started as a producer. And then, he tells a story about how everyone used to tell him, you're just a producer. Don't even try to rap. And that's what made him want to rap even more, because he's just like, yo, you guys think I can just produce beats? I'm going to rap. Became a rapper, right? Look what he did. And then they try to say, yo, you're a rapper. You can't be a fashion designer now. Like, just stick to the music. What did he do? Had the hottest shoe with Nike, went with Louis Vuitton, this and that. It became like a fashion icon. And then they said, okay, yo, just now you're a fashion. But even the fashion world didn't truly accept him, because he talks about like so many times at Paris Fashion Week, he wasn't even getting into shows because guys were just like, you know what? You're just a rapper. Like, these fashion shows are for like actual fashion house designers. You're not one of those. And then he talks about like how he went in debt trying to, start his fashion brand and everything. But one thing you have to respect about him is, like, I don't know him personally, but from his interviews, from just seeing how he conducts himself, he's not a people pleaser. He's going to do what he wants to do. And guys like that, you have to admire them because he's not scared to take chances on himself, and he's not one of those people that they're just gonna take no for an answer.
100%. And like you said, people pleasing. When I was watching his interviews, not knowing much about him, right, and trying to see where he's coming from, and when you're a creator, a lot of people don't understand creating something from nothing, right? I think that's what, you see how the music industry, when you're a creator, you just want to focus on those things. You're taken advantage of by the music industry, which is like, oh, we're older, we have the money, we have the finances, we'll use your talent, make a quick buck off you, and then we kind of own you and tell you what to do. And you can see how that can make someone go crazy, because it's like all my heart and all my traumas and emotions, experiences are put onto this piece of paper for songs, and I put all in this effort in, and I'm in debt doing all this work, and someone just paying the bill going, yeah, and like if you guys are getting into music like myself, it's never really about the money they throw at you, it's the terms, right? It's the terms of ownership, owning your life and the things that you do, and taking that like Jesus, taking your cross and just walking with it, and like going through the suffering. What I found interesting, that he had all these roadblocks, like you talk about cancel culture, being canceled, called mental health issues. To be honest, guys, we all have mental health issues. Like I have a mental health problem right now. Aaron has a mental health problem right now. If we all went to therapists and talked, there'd be something going on with us, right? Just like in athletes and sports, like they're all kind of dealing with something. Like if you're a creator into fashion, into the arts, you're never really going to be able to just fit into the general public of consumerism, of people who just consume that stuff. Because it's very easy to just consume stuff, like stuff, right? Rep his clothes, buy his music, and just sit around and do your thing. But to be a leader in that place takes a lot more pressure comes with it, right? Like having those spiritual battles with different people in the industry trying to control you, telling you to do this, make this song, do that. I found it interesting when he would talk about the songs he made and how he would change them now, being saved and following the path of a Christian. And I respect him in that regard, because he's not trying to just please you. He's not thinking about what everyone else thinks of him 24/7. Like he's doing what he loves. It's successful. People like it. But yet if he slips up, it's like, oh, he's not this. It's kind of like you live long enough. It's like that phrase, you die the hero or you live long enough to become the villain. Yeah. Right? For some people, it's never enough. If you get so big to a point, anything you do wrong, you're constantly looked at. And I liked his analogy of Kobe Bryant and him, how Kobe Bryant's skill is physical, right? It's a physical talent. And when he gets injured, Kobe Bryant had his Achilles injury. He wasn't labeled as, look at his Achilles injury. Every time he got healed and went back to the court and did his thing, right? And as a musician, a creator, either you're in acting, whatever, your mind is your tool, like where you come with thoughts, right? All these things. So say something happens, mental health is like a physical injury, right? You're dealing with an injury right now. It's physical, but mental health is the same thing. There's no difference, right? But people then label you, oh, there's
negative connotations.
Yeah,
right?
You're constantly put there, right? It's like, oh, you had this thing come up with your family. You were sending crazy tweets out at a random time. You're now this person. And because you're at this pedestal, because people, right, they say it like they put them on a pedestal. Kanye West is now God to them. He can't, if he messes up, now he's constantly, right, burdened with that. And you realize we're all humans, like celebrities and rappers, artists, they're just humans. We're all equal going through life, right? And people, when they call them crazy, I'm like, I always look at who's calling who crazy, right? I remember I talked to you about the arena. When someone's not in your arena, what their opinion has no validation, right? So for me, if I'm making music and my friend's giving an opinion on my music and he's not in music, it has no validation for me. Like your opinion doesn't mean anything because you're not in my fight with me. You're not in the same arena with me doing the same things. So you're not coming from an actual helpful, loving place. You're just a critic. Yeah. And then you go back to whatever you're doing and you sit on your couch and you watch other people do stuff, right? And I can see when you get to his level, like you're a billionaire, you have all these successes, and people are still trying to come at you. Like he talked about whatever he did. It didn't matter what he did, people will find a reason to hate him, right? His music was for the culture, went against the culture, and he's a liberal, but then he supported Trump. It's just all these different things that were constantly against him. And
And he basically, like, so people like to label him as a walking contradiction. When you really think about it, like, his whole point is, like, why can't I like Trump? Is it because I'm black, so I'm not supposed to like Trump because, like, every black person hates Trump? So, like, there's different situations like that where he just doesn't want to, he just doesn't feel the need to conform to certain things based on what people are telling him he should be doing. He's going to do what he wants to do. And that takes a lot of balls, especially in today's, like, cancel culture. Like what you said, like, he could have been canceled how many times? From the Taylor Swift incident to, when he called out George Bush.
George Bush,
like, so many instances, right? But I think, like, the whole opinion also about people calling him bipolar, because he said, like, I think he has a condition that he said, it's not exactly bipolar, but it's something close to that, where he said he takes medication for. But even if he has that disorder, he's still always come from a place of his own honesty.
Yep.
So, like,
and honesty is never about pleasing you. It's just being honest with your struggles. I think that's very powerful. The fact he even talked about his mental health and was open enough to think, yeah, I take medication. Because how many people are going to talk to and they're going to tell you about what they're struggling with?
No, they won't.
They won't. It's always like, hey, how are you doing? And it's never like, if you go into, like, what you're struggling with, it's like, I don't want to talk about it because we don't go there. A lot of people don't go there. This guy's a billionaire, has all these successes, people look up to him, and he's still telling people, yeah, I deal with his mental health problems. It doesn't define me, but, like, I'm a creator. I push myself. Like, you and I, we're thinkers. Sometimes we go through those battles. Even for myself, I deal with a lot of mental health stuff, depression, and then severe anxiety.
We all do. It's just when people like to deny it because they don't want, like I said, I probably the first or second episode, they're scared to get judged all the time.
Yeah.
So, like, people, like, especially,
they rather please everybody.
Yeah.
Like, if I always tell people, if you're liked by everybody, you're not living for you and living for who God made you to be, like God gave you a gift and a purpose to live through. If everyone likes you, you don't like yourself because you're constantly looking at, I got to please him. How do I please? Like, yeah, you're adaptable, but you're constantly looking to not be judged. And I was that person for a long time, and I didn't like myself. I kept changing myself to the environment to fit in, to be liked, so no one would come after me. Where now it's like I told you, I don't want to be liked. Like, if it's
impossible to be liked by everybody.
It's tiring.
Yeah.
It's so exhausting, and you don't have energy for yourself and the things you're meant to do. And if that's a business you want to do, be a creator, in music, in fashion, in any business. If you want to if you do construction, you want to be a painter, whatever you want to do. If you're looking at constantly focusing on what other people think of you as, you're done. Your life is over.
And just even from a clothing perspective, if you're constantly making things for other people what they want and you have no taste yourself, then you're going to be short-lived as well, because you can't just make things for other people in anything, right? Like, a good chef doesn't just create stuff for other people. Like, he has to have his own palate, be able to, differentiate what's good and what's bad to himself before he can put it out to other people. So that's like anything in life where you should be your hardest critic first. Don't worry about other people trying to critique you, because their opinions won't matter when you're doing what you love and other people fuck with it. So, like, it's like too many times people, like, they're too obsessed with what other people think of them or what they're doing, that they're scared to start, or they're scared to do certain things that they're actually passionate about, and that's not the way to live life.
And I always tell people, go in not wanting to be liked. Like, almost change you're trying to please people. Go in like, if I want to be myself, I have to then, because for me it's like, if I'm hated on or not understood or people disagree with me, I like that. Not to a point where it's black or white, this or that. It's like, well, we can have a conversation about it. We can see, because I know I'm unique. Therefore, I am going to be different. Therefore, people are going to disagree with me and who I am. We all have different upbringings.
You can't be scared to have your opinion.
No, you won't. And that's what I'm trying to tell people. It's like, go into things like expecting some failure, expecting some negativity, expecting that, because that means you're on your right path, right? When you look at Jesus in his life, like, we'll go into his album that he released. When you go and you look at Jesus in his life, like, people, like, he's changed the world for 2,000 years to this day. Our laws are based on the Judeo-Christian principles, and he wasn't liked. Like, he wasn't respected. And you want to understand that even Jesus was hated by most people.
Even Jesus had haters.
He had tons,
that's a quote.
Tons of haters. And you have to, when you start living your life and wanting to do certain things, you have to take the fact that you're going to get a lot of flack, even from people that are close to you in your family, that are very close to you, might disagree, and you have to be okay with that, and to bear your cross, to know that when you have that relationship with God, you're better off.
And there's a lot of, you have to be aware of undercover haters as well.
Mm-hmm.
People that they clap in front of your face, but behind your back, they're talking shit, and like they're not really, they're real supporters.
100%.
So like you have to be aware of that, because sometimes people, they feel that, oh, this person's my friend, he supports me, but deep down they don't. Your closest friends might not even want to see you win, and that's a reality that you have to come to terms with.
Yes, that could be the heaviest anchors in your life, because they're like yes men to your face. Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. But really, they don't want to.
They don't want to see you like level up, right?
No, and if you do, they'll brag about how they know you and how like somehow they were the reason, or right, all that kind of stuff. So you got to bear your cross, guys, and do it on your own first, and build the people around you that also have their own thing they're doing. But let's get into his album, and Jesus is King, and how that I listened to it for a bit. To be honest, didn't vibe with it. Like, to each his own. Like, I didn't hate it. Some music I like, some music I don't like. What do you think about that album, and even in your journey with Christ as a Christian, how that helped you? Because God works through people as well. So how'd that help you?
So I liked the album. I think I liked it because it was something so different from Kanye that you don't expect. Like a full Christian album, no one would think he would put something out like that. So when I listened to it, and like I thought like a lot of songs had good production. He does his typical. I think that he does his typical things where he'll use auto-tune, or he'll do certain things where it's like you kind of expect that from Kanye, like the screaming or something. But I think I don't know if it gave me something to listen to that wasn't so just focused on the typical things that culture promotes. So like, like the hoes, the bitches, none of that album is about it, right? So it's refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's something that like you could put it in your car, and as a Christian, a lot of like the verses and the lyrics that he uses are from the actual Bible. So it's kind of cool how he blended in, real values and real verses into something with like a hip hop production.
Mm-hmm.
So
and you see how
I liked it.
You liked
it,
yeah. And do you still listen to it? Do you still listen to?
Yeah, here and there. Like it's like I have Sirius radio too, so if it comes on, like like I'll listen to it.
And I think
it's not my favorite Kanye album. I can't say it's my favorite one, because like my favorite one's still Graduation, because that at that time period in high school, that was like an album that I was like, man, I can listen to the whole thing front and back. It brings me back. Exactly.
Nostalgia. Yeah, it's like Drake's like first album. Like I can listen to
it brings you back to that time, right?
I think it's amazing to see, because he owns all that, right? Was that his first album? Like he owned everything, the production, all that.
Something like that. Something where he said like he had total control. The music business is so confusing, where it's like, like one thing, an artist can say like, yo, I have full total control, and then like I guess like the next interview he'll be like, the labels tried to suppress this and that. Like you don't even know, right? So I guess according to him, he had free reign to do what he wanted to do, right?
And that was the scary thing for me, because when I was in fitness and health, and I realized this wasn't for me, I wasn't being creative anymore. It was very fragmented. Like lift weights, get jacked, follow the numbers. You teach people to do that as well. And for me, I missed that creativeness in me. I had more to give. I'd hear songs, I'd hear other, my friend's song, and I'd be like, man, I could do something. I knew I had a creative side, but I was getting into business in my online business. I knew, okay, what's the music business like? Because I couldn't like figure it out. Like I don't know people in the industry. It's very like you have to really know someone. It's very small, right? So I took a music business course at Lakeshore just to understand the terms, right? We had people coming from labels, we had entertainment lawyers, agents, booking agents, publishers, like all in different factors in the industry. And you're like, holy crap, man, like there's a ton of loopholes, right? And every time you, like when we were growing up, you're just thinking, oh, as an artist, I just want to get signed and then I'm good. And it's like, you get signed and then you're fucked.
Yeah.
Right? Like you get signed and then you're fucked, because they're like, okay, like these labels, like the lawyers came in, they literally said that they're pretty much banks. Like they got tons of money and they just buy smaller labels and they own them. and they give you all this money, you eventually have to
Pay
pay
it
back.
back, yeah.
So it wasn't like they that's why it's always, you look at Chance the Rapper, right? He's like, yeah, he always independent, because it's like you rather build slowly and it's all yours. Like
Then
as,
signing your life away.
yeah, because I remember watching stuff from Kanye. He even said the artist is the owner of the company, right? Like my music is mine. It's not somebody else's to tell me what the fuck to do with it, right? Because that's why music is so special, because it's so unique. It's free. It's a freedom of expression. It's the emotions you can't just tell people. Like when I sing, I can give you the emotions I feel that I'm not going to be able to talk about. So when I was in the classroom, was there 9 to 5 every day for a whole summer, and it made me so demotivated to, like, even the industry itself it's based on just evil principles.
So it's good that you went to that course so you can see
100%.
like how it works.
And I had
right?
my close friend Anthony was signed for a bit. Luckily, I think he was only signed for songs. He wasn't signed for albums. And he told me his experience. Like, you feel it destroys the purpose of artistry, because you're trying to be creative, and you don't want to be told when to do things, because it's not very singular. It's not one way to do things, right? Because when you're an artist, it's emotional. Some days you can write well, some days you can't. Like, you go through life's traumas, and sometimes it takes you away from that. It's a very open, fluid concept of making music, right? And the second you're owned by a label, they tell you when you can put out your music, when they can't. You're pumped for a song, but they say, nah, we're not really focusing on you right now, because the big artists pay for all the small ones, right? Because when you have Justin Bieber or Kanye, they're making millions and billions of dollars. You can sign all these small guys. If they make it big, you're making tons, and they make maybe some.
It's all connected.
It's all connected, maybe.
Yeah.
And if they're not, then the big guys just pay for the small guys' mistakes. And when you get signed, say you're signed to 3 albums, like an album is 12 songs, right? That's a whole year, 2 years worth of your life, maybe making 12 songs. If you're in a 3-album deal, that's 3 to 4 years of your fucking life working for somebody else to maybe make money. What kind of job is that? You're better working at McDonald's.
Yeah, slavery.
Yeah, it's not even.
But a lot of the times that the artists that get signed, they get signed at a time when they're not educated. You know, they come from different situations where they need that advance, or they get bad advice from people. Like, you hear it all the time, especially rappers.
They chase that high. They chase the validation.
Chase the bag.
Yeah. That word. That word kills me, man.
Where's your bag?
You're chasing the bag. Like, where's the bag you carry? I never see the bag. Where is the bag that you have? You have all these bags, right? Right. When you said racks, I'm like, where are the racks that you have? I don't. But yeah, they're chasing that. Oh, I got signed, and they can put it on their Instagram, and maybe they'll put the blue check on their Instagram. It's like, you're broke as fuck, bro. You make $0, and if you make money, the label makes most of it first.
Of course.
Like, and people don't understand. I rather you grind. Like, I told my friend's doing it right now. He's with Warner, but now he's doing it on his own. It's like, yeah, man, you grind. You slowly get 20,000 streams on one song, then to 50,000, 100,000, right? The streaming industry changed music, right? And you see how Spotify is kind of, the labels helped Spotify, and now Spotify is trying to become its own thing by signing Joe Rogan and having a podcast and tons of things.
They're
that way.
diversifying.
They're trying to diversify because the label industry, the music is all fucked, bro. It's basically just using people to make the dollars.
And look at right now with COVID, there's no touring.
Yep.
So, and touring is huge money,
Huge.
right?
Yep.
So right now it's just streams, merch, and
And
it's only so long that can go on for, right? Before
Yeah.
people get tired of it.
And we talk about what would make me crazy. I couldn't imagine my music being taken and used. Being Kanye West, I would have went crazy too. I would have went nuts. You see all the millions and billions of dollars being made,
And he's always in debt.
and he's in debt millions.
Yeah.
Like, he's the guy everyone's looking up to, and he has less money than his fans, and he's the one being praised and putting all this work in, all the travel hours. Like, touring is crazy on the body, putting in your God-given creativity, and it's just being taken away like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
And
that's why,
I also heard about the whole thing when he says he was in debt. There's another person that signed to him that was like, Kanye, when he said that, he was in debt fashion-wise from his like fashion houses and, you know, from like his brands that he was trying to do. But music-wise, he wasn't in debt. But when he says he's in debt, he was probably just talking overall like scheme. Like, he just felt that he was like a slave to culture in general, right?
Yeah.
So like that's where there's like some gray area, but you know, like from that interview, when you watch, you can tell that he didn't like who he was in the past making the songs. Like, what was the song we were talking about before that was so big?
The song that ended it for me, which is so funny, because I didn't even know it was Kanye's song until I was like, oh, that's his song, right? Is even the time when I was sober, still going to the clubs, and I'm looking around. I'm such a fucking hoe. I love it.
Yeah.
And I'm looking around.
And all the girls are singing it.
I'm like, why are you such a fucking hoe? And why do you love it? I was just like, that doesn't mean good things. Why do you want that to be your anthem? Right? And
every girl's posting it on their snap singing it. It's like,
and they're
it's
drinking their
crazy.
bottles. I'm like, how do you want to be respected, but yet you're calling yourself a fucking hoe and you
Yeah.
love it? Right? And you see how that influences culture, like music influenced me to get maybe.
And you know who probably gave him the green light for that? Kim. Kim's like, I love it.
Kim?
It's
Yeah.
amazing, right?
Holy shit. And that's like he even says too, he's like on the interviews, he wanted to change it like, I love my God. Like something he wanted to add God into that now where he's like, would you make those old songs? Because people look at Kanye now, but they still want him to be the old Kanye, his old
Yeah.
music that got people amped up.
Like Omer. Omer said he misses the old Kanye.
Yeah. He wanted him to be, they want him to fuel their sin, their addictions, right? I remember when I was still going out into the clubs in Toronto, and I was like, you know what? I thought drinking was my problem. I'm drinking too much. It's making me, sleep around, make out with random people, do all these things that I just knew weren't healthy for me. And, I'm hearing this song, like, I'm such a fucking hoe. I love it. I'm like, the beat is sick. That's what's it's crazy about is that because the beat's sick, we don't even like listening to the words anymore. Well, now I'm at a place, I listen to the words, and the words are just so bad and leading me to a bad place, I can't listen to it anymore.
That's how I am too.
Right? Even the beat, like, because that's how they get you. The beats are always good.
I
The
know.
beats are crazy.
The beats draw you in.
But you have to be careful. You have to be like, I would listen to Party Next Door, Travis Scott, like those guys. I like the music, but what they were promoting was me to go around and fuck chicks. Like, and I did that. It was because I was living that lifestyle. I was also listening to the music that amplified and made it more exciting and enticing because, these guys are big and they're, this is how I'm going to view women. And then you look at women singing the Kanye song, it's like you're a hoe and you love it. It's like, don't do that. You do not want those things. Like, you don't want that.
And especially after he had a daughter, that's when he, like, even Jay-Z said the same thing. He said after he had his daughter, I think he stopped rapping, like maybe stopped saying the word bitch, or like he's toned it down because he's like, I can't rap about the same things after I have a daughter.
Because God humbles you.
Yeah.
God finds a way to humble you. Like, wow, look what I was doing. Look, because no one believes that they have an impact and influence on people. Doesn't matter who you are, the smallest, wherever you are in your life. You don't have to be Kanye, whatever. You have an impact and influence on the people you are around, right? And where do you want to drive people towards, right? That's why I hold myself accountable where I was not a good person. I was not a good person.
Also,
I drove people to do bad things, to listen to music and not be in relationships and, fuck this, who cares, do this, do whatever you want.
But you also have to be able, like Kanye, at the end of the day, he sits down with his family.
Mm-hmm.
So the stuff that you're saying in your raps, you got to be able to sit down and have dinner with your daughter, your wife, knowing that what am I portraying, what kind of energy am I putting out in the world that's coming back to my dinner table? Like, am I happy about the things I'm rapping about, the things that, like, I'm, glorifying? And that's when they come to that crossroad, right? Mm-hmm. Some of them do, some don't. Some just don't give a fuck. They just keep going.
Honestly,
right?
some don't give a fuck because they're still addicted to their money.
Yes.
Or they're constantly popping bottles and Hennessy and stuff. So, like, I always tell people, like, you got to give yourself an opportunity to be able to even think and become more self-aware. You can't do that hungover. Like, when I was hungover and, like, you're drinking alcohol, you're doing drugs, like, you're putting away any inhibitions you have, any kind of moral compass you'd want to carry. It's hard to really check yourself because you're hungover all the time. The alcohol kills your brain cells. Like, it's really hard to really, because you're just, I just got to wake up and eat some food and chill for a bit, bro, because I'm so hungover, and I'll drink a beer and I'll feel back to normal again. Like, you don't even have that opportunity, right? And that's why, you have to be careful because eventually you'll get to that breaking point, right? Kanye got to his breaking point, wherever that was in his life. And he's a good... it's a good message for people, right? Because he's idolized so much, and him making the album, it doesn't put him on. It's not easy because now he's gonna get more attacks because he's saying Jesus is king, right? Don't follow man, follow God. I'm not God. I went crazy because of it. I lost my mind. Things were happening in the family, right? You saw the video when he was crying recently, saying, my dad didn't want to have me. He talks about abortions and how abortions are increasing. Those are all children of God. Right? And how the system is played against God. It's not for God.
But look what he said too. He said in his song, he says the first people that will judge him are Christians themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So he knows that by him doing a full album dedicated to Jesus, he knew he's gonna get the Christians look at him like you can't be rapping about God and on Jesus. Like, look at the life you live.
Who are you?
Right?
Yeah.
So right away he knows he's getting that type of judgment from him. But going back to what I said, like a guy like Kanye, he's not trying to people please. He's not trying to like look at Christians and be like, I need you to accept me. He just went straight to God, to Jesus, being like, yo, this album, I'm putting your name on it, and this is an album dedicating my life basically to you. That takes a lot of guts.
How'd the album do, Aaron?
It was his best one, right? Like according to
Praise God.
the charts. So that's why he kept saying, he's like, this was his most successful year.
And I bet
people like to say it's a coincidence. What do we call that?
It's not a coincidence.
It's
God.
not a coincidence.
There's no such thing as coincidences. It's God. But that's why I bet you when he even says, even in terms of you and I understand this, success is not just how many dollar signs are coming in, how many streams. It's like the peace he has.
Exactly.
Right? The content he has, the love he has for his kids and his family, how he wants to serve his wife and his children. Success is so much more than just that system we live in of getting the bag, right? Getting the racks on racks on racks.
What's the point of having all the money, all the fame, if you have no peace?
You sell your soul.
Peace is the success.
Yeah.
Content is the success.
Yep.
Right? Like how many stories have you heard of the guys with the most money, the most fame, and you know they end up killing themselves, or they go into deep places where they can't even be with themselves because there's no peace there. There's no contentment, and that's something that you can't buy, you can't learn. So that's like when we talk about in the first episode about just being thankful, having gratitude. Like you have to remind yourself of that every single day. Like,
well, the system we grew up in teaches us the lie. I say, right? Because it wants us to focus on the things we think give us happiness and approval, and our insecurities will go away, and I'll be liked by people. I'll get a girlfriend. We constantly are chasing the lie, which is why I tell people suicide rates go up for a reason. Mental health problems in men in general have a hard time with their identity in today's time because of these things. We're in a system, the cookie cutter system of the government, school systems, your employer, that's teaching you lies. The foundation is not based on truth, is not based on actual living. Like it's almost like I heard a funny thing where it's people, they work 9 to 5, they work hard for their family and their kids, but they never spend time with their family or their kids. They're working hard for their family and kids, yet they never actually build a relationship. They're never actually with their family and kids, which was what your wife needs, or say even if it's a wife going out, working 9 to 5 and doing it for the family. They're never with the husband. You're never with your partner, keeping that relationship good. You're not even with your children. What the fuck is the point?
That's what Kevin Hart on Joe Rogan, that's what he said. He said, I was working so hard, busting my ass, saying that, telling myself the lie, I'm doing this for you're doing this for your family, Kevin, right? Kept telling himself.
But
he's like, when would I ever hang out with my family? He said he was married to his job, and then he had a part-time relationship with his kids. So he would just fill them in here and there.
That's
He'd be
real.
like, do you guys
Real
want to
talk.
see a movie? Okay. He'd give them 2 hours, and after the movie, okay, guys, I gotta go. And then he just said that he couldn't live like that anymore because. And then do you remember when he got into the accident? Right,
he got into that car accident. Right.
He said that was when he said God humbled him and made him slow down, being like, "Kev, like
he can walk again, right? At least he can still walk."
He's like, "This is the time now where I'm letting you like actually be a family man. Now you have nowhere to go." Right? He talks about it. He's just like his life came to a standstill because God put him in that position because he wouldn't have seen it any other way. That he wouldn't have came to that position any other way if there hadn't been an accident.
Mm-hmm.
So like what you said about mental health is, I think a lot of times people have, like we said, yeah, everyone has mental health issues, but what helps your mental health is your spiritual health. So having a relationship with God first, like it brings that sense of peace and calmness where that just you alone having mental health issues. I don't think you'll get to that by just yourself and having, a therapist.
Because it's always yourself. It's always the world. It's always horizontal relationships trying to fix a vertical problem.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like a lot of people are like, I always have anxiety, so either I go on this medication that's temporary. The medication will, if you don't take the medication, you go nuts eventually because you're constantly on the medication. You need the medication to survive. Or you're constantly in a relationship because you need that relationship to keep you at bay. Eventually, you have to keep going to horizontal, and it'll never fix the vertical problem that you're a spirit. You're a child of God first, All right, that's why people say, oh, I have anxiety, depression. Like, you could be going through spiritual warfare first. It might be a spiritual warfare problem, right? It's not maybe just a mental health thing. So once you get to the ground of that, you're a child of God, get into that foundation first, then eventually you can then add tools like therapy to help you in that. But if you're constantly in the strife, it's because you're forgetting your being first, your soul first. You need to take care of that first, and then you'll see where you need to go in your life, what career you actually want to take, the lifestyle you want to build. And that's why it's so powerful if you guys build that relationship with God, and not just the idea you have of God. You have to go, like Kanye is a good leeway to go, oh, Jesus is king. Like, he's done so great, and he's talking about how he was going crazy, losing his mind. He brought Jesus in his life, and he's feeling better. Maybe I'm going to try that. He has a lot of success. He has a lot of worldly success.
Kanye, he's basically the epitome of culture to Christ, because literally there was no one bigger in culture than him, who decided that, I have to give God the steering. I have to give Jesus the steering wheel to lead my life, because he knew that he was going to crash and burn. So, like, a lot of us, we can learn from other. We don't have to go through mistakes and through experience that other people have went through, when you can learn from them. And that's something that if Kanye is telling his experiences of like dealing with the depression, the anxiety, like the pressure on him that he felt from just having all these expectations, right? Like, what are we really dealing with compared to what this guy dealt with?
At a whole other level. He's dealing with things at a whole other level. Like, he's a billionaire, so he sees other billionaires that are like you'll see the fruits of their labor, like what they really think about. Like, they have all this money and power, what they're really planning, what they're really wanting to do with people. Like, they just see people as pawns. And that's why I want to
this guy meets with Zuckerberg, with Elon Musk. Like, he meets with the world leaders, and he still says, to this, he's like, right now his mindset is, I'm living for Christ. There's a reason for that.
That's why you beg the point where if any of you guys are listening and you have someone you idolize, like, they're your guy. They're someone you want to be one day. Ask yourself, how well do you really know them when they're on their interviews and stuff, like, or do you make an idea of them? Like, Kanye is very transparent and vulnerable about his things in his life. That's what you want to look for, right? You and I are like that, Aaron. We want to look for someone that's going to talk about their issues. Like, they have all this success, but talk about the things you're struggling with, because we need to know that people are human beings. Like, we're all equal. We're all at the same playing field. We're all made in the image of God, right? And there's always going to be worldly things that are going to make our lives more difficult than others. But suffering is part of life. We're meant to suffer, long suffering.
You can't skip the struggle, the suffering. It's impossible.
And you don't have God in the helping you with the suffering, you lose your mind. You almost go like, why was I born into this? What the heck?
And that's when you turn to other things to fill the void and to help you get through those tough times, when those tough times is meant for prayer. It's the prayer that uplifts us and comforts us, knowing that, in the deepest waters, God is there for you if you believe in him, right? Everything here is temporary, and the only thing eternal is heaven. So when you come to that realization, you'll understand that these problems that we think we have, they're not real problems. Like, what are we really stressing over?
Yep. And it's a long process to think about, even for myself. Like, even believing in Christ, and like Kanye West, cool guy. Like, if I talk, I'd probably love to talk to him. Like, I don't really see people. I don't like when you become a child of God and you're saved. You no longer see people as, like, I don't fan people, I call it. Like, it doesn't matter what you do, what you're an actor, what you do in life, right? Because we're all equal, made in the image of God. And so for me, we have to get out of the fandom of life. You can look at people and be like, that's admirable. That's
or inspire. You can get inspired.
Like, I like what he does. He works hard. I like this hustle. But don't be putting them as your gods, because you do that. You put posters of people in your room that you've never met in your life. You've never had a conversation with, right? That's why when we'll get into topics where it's like, you don't like God, you don't believe in God, but you treat other people like gods. Like, they're your source for your happiness. I did that at a young age with other people, musicians, actors, athletes. And you look at Kanye West saying, Jesus is king. Like, stop putting me on the pedestal, because when you realize that he's a human being and we're all not meant for it to be eternal. We're not immortal beings. We're so flawed that we all need God. We need someone. And if you're struggling with that, you still don't want to go to it. You're like, nah, I don't want to go to it. Just take it on as like, don't talk about it with your friends. Don't talk about people. Do it on your own. Do it in the privacy.
You don't always need the approval of other people to pursue things that you have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're always trying to like get validation from even your closest friends, you'll always feel stuck because that's never going to come. Like everyone's at different places in their lives, and even your own family members can be preventing you from doing something that you need to do. And faith is obviously one of those things. Whether it's faith, whether it's you have to go to therapy, to whatever it is that you have to get to and fix, you can't always look for other people to give you the okay
Mm-hmm.
or the approval. Another thing I wanted to talk about Kanye was when he so basically when he was so into he still is in fashion, like he still is part of Yeezy and Adidas, but when he released his first shoe with Nike, did you know that they basically told him like, yo, we're only giving you a certain amount of shoes, and even though they were so successful and sold out like crazy, like so fast, and they were one of like the highest reselling shoes even to this day, they told him that's enough. They're not going to give him any more. So that's Nike, right? To
Mm-hmm.
Kanye West. So when he got that reply from him, and he's just like, what? Like, why can't I get? They're like, oh, you're not an athlete. So that's why you. And then when he decided to go to Adidas, look what he did with their brand. Right, took him to the next level. Now Adidas is like on par, if not, the Yeezy brand probably makes more than a lot of Nike's, some of their own lines that they could have just did the same thing with Kanye, but they didn't want to give him that. So it's the constant walls and barriers that are put in his way, obviously made him, have to be like, I'm gonna show you, I'm gonna prove to you. And him coming to Christ is just another one of those barriers where people are telling him like, you're gonna do a whole album dedicated to Jesus Christ King. Like, we'll see how that goes.
Mm-hmm.
You think you're gonna sell albums? And like at the end of the day,
The lesson is no matter what people tell you, you have to be bold. Be bold in your faith. Rock with God. You have to be bold. Like if you're striving for something, guys, take that lesson that you're going to have to be bold. You're going to have to upset people. People aren't going to like you. People are going to try to cancel you. Take that, right? It doesn't mean you have to go, oh, I love Kanye, he's the best, but look at the principles of it and look at what of his success and what he's constantly being, like you said, put in boxes. No, this is what you are. You're an artist. No, you're this. No, you're a black guy. You're a white guy. You're this. You're straight. You're a hockey player, right? Stop letting people keep you in the boxes. There's no box with God. God's eternal. God created everything. There's nothing God cannot do. God created evil. God created the devil for a reason. Everything's under his control. So when you're with him, you know that everything that someone puts, any limitation of a human being is flawed.
And look at Kanye. You had a song before called "I Am a God." So you can tell that now.
Look how that breaks down,
right? He looked at himself that he was a god. He called himself Jesus. All these things where he knows that like that's blasphemy. And if he could change his perspective on life, anyone can at any point. It doesn't matter what you've done in the past. It doesn't matter about like the lies that you tell yourself or the life that you think you're living but you're actually not living. All these contradictions in your head are things that you can control. Like, not that you can control, but you need to give it up. Give up the control and let God actually take your life and transform it. And then you'll see like everything else will just fall into place because you can't pursue things just alone. It's very hard.
It's very hard, and it's almost unnecessary suffering.
Mm-hmm.
It's unnecessary. You're not God. You can never control every single thing, every person on your team or in your business and your family members, right? You have to
That's
ride
where the
with
anxiety
God.
comes from as well.
Oh yeah. Crazy amount of anxiety. So if any of you guys take away from this is Kanye West is awesome. No, but it's honestly great to talk about things that
it's just good that he, like we said, we don't idolize him anymore, especially me. Like I don't idolize him like anybody now because like I've changed. I'm not who I was back when I was working at Champs in those days, but he's a great example of what culture to Christ is about.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, in terms of, I love his confidence. I love his boldness. You got to talk highly about yourself, guys, because who else is? Who else is going to have your back? God loves you, thinks you're the most beautiful creation on this earth. God made you. That's how awesome you are, right? So talk highly about yourself.
Yeah, you can't lose your confidence.
No, I'm intelligent. I'm extremely good looking. I'm extremely. I'm an intellect. I'm intelligent. When I put my mind to things, I get it done, because glory be to God. Without that, God gave me this confidence, and you guys, I want you guys to have that as well.
Without your confidence, you'll never be able to pursue things that you want to. You won't be able, you'll
get in the victim mindset. You'll get in the victim mentality. You'll look at how everything's against you. Yeah. The same story, yada, yada, yada. It's going to come, guys. Like, strife is going to come. These battles are going to come. You're in a war. Whether it's a spiritual warfare, you're always dealing with different kinds of people, mindsets, ideas, right? So equip yourself to love yourself first. God loves you. Build that relationship. Understand what real love is. You'll be able to take on the dragon, right? But thank you guys for listening to today's podcast. I learned a lot. I don't know much about Kanye West, right? So I did more
but you
research
see,
on it.
Now after watching those interviews, because I can show you interviews from the past, like you remember when he was like, "How Sway? You don't got the end," like all that, like way different than how he is now.
Yeah,
like completely different.
Calm.
Yeah.
Peaceful, right?
But and now, like, regardless of how peaceful you and I think he is or other people, he's still gonna get called bipolar. He's still gonna get called crazy.
I mean, all these tweets, right? He's putting out tweets and stuff like that, and
like running for president. But the amazing thing I liked about that whole, like, whether he's president or not, whether he's running or he's not, whether it's for publicity, you and I won't know. We don't know him personally. But I liked how he said, "I will not take the mark of the beast because that will stop me. I'm not doing anything to stop me from getting through heaven's gates." Amen. So like, him putting that out there just shows you, like, he's not scared. Like, he's not trying to conform. He's saying that, I'm against the vaccine, and you can have your opinion towards the vaccine. We're not trying to influence you, but he's saying it. I'm not taking the mark of the beast because that's against what God wants from me.
Amen.
And you have to, I think I respect that, because he, like, once again, he's not scared.
No, because God blessed us with what we need, right? God gave us his word to know how to understand information when we receive it from who we receive it by. We're in a spiritual world. That's how you know how you can learn to trust people, if you have God first. If you have the Holy Spirit, you're now equipped to see who's coming at you and who's honest, who's not, who's deceiving you. Because a lot of things that seem good, right? I'm going to touch on this really quick before we end with the verse of the day from our man Aaron. Coronavirus and COVID-19 is a quick killer, right? It's very fast. It spread fast. If you're unhealthy, it kills you. Also now look at the slow term killers, the things that take time, right? If we're going to be so focused and put a lot of money and efforts on coronavirus, we should then start getting rid of fast food restaurants. We need to get rid of liquor stores.
Your car.
Car
accidents.
Car accidents. You're not allowed to drive anymore. Like, I don't like hypocrisy. I don't like contradictions. So I think everyone should live a healthy, safe life. But fast food industry has been killing millions of people in the world since they started, right? Yes, we have choices, but a lot of times businesses are meant to help people, right? Like, dollar signs are made to help people, right? So we have to be careful of all this. COVID-19 kills people fast. We act fast, right? And how about all the other things we should probably start thinking about your life? God gave you an immune system to take care of yourself, to stay healthy. We have fruits, vegetables, all these things that keep us healthy. Let's start focusing on those things, exercise and diet. Let's start focusing on those things.
What's funny for guys, so like, I know a personal buddy who he's so scared of going out to eat because of COVID. He won't go out anywhere, stay home. The guy, but what he's ordering to his, I don't know who I'm talking about. What he's ordering to his house for delivery is like Popeyes, like every day, like fast food, pizza, all this stuff. So it's like, okay, you're scared to get the virus, but you're killing your body.
Killing your body and makes it hard to fight.
Drinking at night. It's just like, you're scared of the virus, but you're killing yourself every night with all the poison.
Yep.
So it's just like,
alcohol killed millions. We don't stop that. The businesses don't close down stores. It kills millions.
But that's what they're not talking about in the news. They don't want to talk about that side of it. He's one of like millions of people who are doing that, who since COVID started, their diets went to shit. They're getting no exercise. They're scared of the virus, but they're not scared to poison their body.
They're cool with that. Right? They abuse that, right?
Let's talk about the suicide rates.
Yeah.
No one talks about that, right?
Suicide calls increased by X amount of number, like 500% or something. The suicide calls.
They never talk about that on the news.
They don't. But we'll get into those into next episodes, guys. That kind of little bit of rant from myself and things. I care about people. I care about being prepared, being preventative, right? Cancer doesn't just come, right? It happens over time of how you treat your body. We all have cancer cells in our body, right? It's different if you're born with diabetes and now you're compromised and you have to be careful. But if you got diabetes because you chose to eat like a piece of shit and just drink and treat your body and not care for yourself, and now you're afraid of getting COVID, it's like, I don't really know what you're complaining about. You didn't arm yourself in the first place.
They're not scared of cancer. They're scared of COVID.
Yeah. So just start thinking about those things, guys. If you care so much about keeping yourself healthy and safe, then start treating yourself that way and treating others and treating your body that God gave you like a temple, the way it is. But yeah, thank you guys for listening to today's episode. Aaron's going to end it with the verse of the day.
Yep. So the verse of the day, it's very, it relates to what our whole discussion was today. Romans chapter 12, verse 2. It says, "Do not conform any longer to the pattern of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Then you will be able to test and approve what God's will is, his good, pleasing, and perfect will for your life." So
Amen.
that's very suitable. Stop conforming to the pattern of the world, to what culture wants you to be like.
Act like, think like.
Right? Renew your mind first. Renew your spirit, your soul. Take care of that first before you try to please other people, before you need to seek validation, before you need culture to tell you this is what you need to be successful, or this is the benchmark. It starts from your soul, your spirit first.
Amen.
Before it goes to your mind.
Amen. Stay tuned for next episode, guys. We'll get into more of our experiences and our testimonies, the fucked up shit we did in culture, and to let us to want to do this podcast more and more. Thank you so much for listening. Make sure you guys like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow us on Instagram as well. Comments, DMs, ask us questions. We're here. We wanted this to be engaging with you guys. Let us know what you guys like, what you don't like. We're good at learning, We want this to be a conversation. So thank you so much for joining us today, guys.
Peace.